The world of AI art is evolving extremely fast, and if you are someone who wants to stay top of trend and wants to know exactly what is happening, then this video is for you. In this course, masterclass, whatever you want to call it, for MidJourney, I'm going to teach you right from beginner level to the pro level on how to use MidJourney to create AI art. It is essentially a tool where you put in text inputs, and basis on however you have inputted or prompted the AI engine, it will create an image for you. These are some of the examples of the community showcase in MidJourney. So you'd be able to create images like these for yourself. This entire course is divided into chapters, so since we're covering right from basics to pro, you can decide to skip ahead whenever you want to portions of the course which are more relevant to you. If you're watching this on YouTube, then you have chapters here as well where you can simply skip to whichever part is relevant to you. Now, without wasting any more time, let's get started. And the first part is only for the beginners who do not know what Discord is, who do not know what MidJourney is, and how to get that entire setup done, right? So I'll dive right into it. So, like I said, MidJourney is basically an AI tool which takes text inputs, a lot of these text inputs that you can see, and it'll generate an image for you with these text inputs. So there has to be a way for you to be able to talk to this AI bot, right? Which is MidJourney. And the way MidJourney has chosen is Discord. So you need to head over to discord.com and you will need this application because this is where the MidJourney bot lives. And you can talk to the bot by giving it the text prompts and it'll generate images for you. So if you don't have Discord yet, the first step is to download it for your machine, whether it's Mac or PC. You can go to discord.com and simply download this for yourself. Once you have the Discord app, all you need to do is set it up. I already have mine set up, so I'll just open it right away. There we are. We're at Discord. If you already have an account, simply log in. If you don't, you can simply register. It's free of cost. All you need is your email, a username for yourself, date of birth, and you're in. Let me quickly log into the account that I already have. So I'm into Discord, and as you can see, I'm part of a lot of different communities here. So on the left hand side, all you see are these different communities. I'm part of all these communities. You can also add friends and then you can just chat with them here. So this is essentially a community tool, and MidJourney also resides here. Now, once we have Discord set up, we go back into midjourney.com. This is how the homepage looks like. There are a few options here available for you. There's a get started button. This essentially takes you to the MidJourney documentation, and if you're willing to read all of this, you can get a lot of information about how MidJourney works, but you will not need that because you have this video. There's a showcase which we were looking at before. This has all the top images generated from MidJourney, the recent ones, top ones. We'll go back into the homepage. We'll be joining the beta program for now, and then obviously you can sign in as well. So when you click on join the beta, MidJourney will essentially take you to their Discord server or the Discord community that they have, and that is where you can start interacting with their AI bot. Let's click on join the beta. So I've gone directly into the MidJourney community. This is what their community looks like. There are a lot of different threads here, channels here, for different purposes. We'll go over them later in the video. If you were not already joined, you would see an invitation. You just click on accept and you will land right here. Since I was already there as part of the community, that did not show up for me. If you see here, there are some newbies channel that you would see, and these are channels that MidJourney has automatically added you to. And when you click here, you will see a lot of people already publicly interacting with the MidJourney bot. So they send in their text prompts, and then these are the images that MidJourney generates for them and sends it out. But this is quite public, so everything that you're writing here, everything that you're generating here is readily available for anyone to see. And probably get inspiration from also. So if you're looking for any kind of inspiration, this is one of the places you can see how people are interacting with the bot, what kind of images can come out. Another place for inspiration obviously is their community showcase, which we just saw. You can go through images here and you can get inspired. So yeah, these are some of the places you can look forward to for inspiration. Let me now quickly go back into their website and I'll quickly sign in. You have to sign in with your Discord account that you just created. So since I was already registered on Discord, MidJourney is asking for access to my profile. I will authorize this. Now that we're logged into MidJourney, you will find all the images that you generate in the future, all of it here, and you can simply see all of those images, download it right from here. I'll show that to you later. Once we've started generating images, you can access community showcase, you can manage your subscription. So right now I have not purchased a plan, but let me cover that as well. MidJourney largely has three plans which you can buy on an yearly or a monthly basis. So there's a basic, standard, and pro plan. Currently, they're not offering any free subscriptions anymore. They have paused that for a while. So in the past, you were able to generate some free images and test out MidJourney for yourself before making a purchase decision. But they've decided to pause that for a while. Pause is the keyword. They do say that they want to restart that soon in the future. But for now, this is where we're at. So you'd probably need to buy one of these plans to get started. However, let me just add, according to my belief, this is completely worth it. And this is something that you should go for. There are these three plans. There's this basic plan where you get to generate up to 200 images per month, and post that you can buy credit top up. So what you're paying for is essentially time with the MidJourney server for it to generate images for you. And you can generate up to 3 images at a time, right? In the standard plan, you have 15 hours of fast generation, which means that you would be able to spend 15 hours with the MidJourney server and you could send in requests and it'll generate images really, really fast for you. When they say fast, it generally means about 60 seconds that it takes, in my experience, to generate images with MidJourney. And once you're done with your 15 hours, you will still have unlimited relaxed generations. And by relaxed, what they mean is that the server will still generate images for you, but in a more relaxed fashion, will take slightly more time. But to me, honestly, I don't think there's too much of a difference. It goes from maybe 60 seconds to 90 seconds, doesn't really matter much. And yeah, if you still want to use fast generation after 15 hours, you can buy top ups. And again, it does 3 concurrent jobs at a time, the fast jobs. The pro plan, which is for $60, is 30 hours of time compared to 15 hours in the standard plan. And there are 12 concurrent fast jobs that you can do. Of course, you have unlimited relaxed generations here as well. In my opinion, if you're getting started, which you are since you're watching this video, I would suggest the basic plan to start with, but you'd probably settle down to somewhere as standard plan, which at least I have seen for myself and a lot of my colleagues as well. So the standard plan is what we're going to be using for this tutorial, and I'm going to go ahead and make that purchase. So I've gone ahead and purchased the standard plan, where I will get 15 hours of fast generation with the MidJourney server, 3 concurrent fast jobs. So yeah, we're in business now. We can start using the MidJourney bot on Discord. So I can click here and go into Discord, or I can simply open the Discord app. So back to Discord, and like we mentioned before, that these newbie channels are the ones where you can interact with the MidJourney bot. But obviously, like I mentioned, that this is quite public and there's a lot of noise here. Every time you type something, like just while me recording this, there have been 2, 3 more images that were generated. So it can become very difficult, especially because after every prompt, MidJourney takes about 60 seconds to generate your image. So we don't want to deal with all this clutter. And the way out from this is to create your own server, your own Discord server, your own community, so to speak. And then you can add the MidJourney bot to that and then just interact it within your community, right? So to do that, since this is the list of communities, you can add a server from here, create my own just for me and my friends. You can call it anything. So let's say Viren Beds server and create. It's that simple. We have this new server here now, Viren's Beds server. Now you can go into MidJourney and go to any of these newbie channels, click on the MidJourney bot and say add to server. So I will select the server that I want to add MidJourney to. Continue. You have to give the bot all the permissions here and authorize it. That's it. We've added MidJourney bot to our server. We can go into the server now. And as you can see, the server only has two channels. There's one text channel, there's one voice channel. And obviously, MidJourney bot only works in text. So you can see you've made it MidJourney bot. So MidJourney bot got added. And now I can simply start speaking to the bot. And the way to do that, the way to generate your first AI art is basically giving a command. This command starts with a forward slash. So when you do a forward slash, you'll get a bunch of these options, right? And we'll explore a lot of them in this video. But the main one to start with is imagine. And when you use that, you can ask MidJourney to essentially generate an image for you from the prompt that you give. So we click here and now you can enter the prompt. So let's say I'm going to add something very simple for now. Let's say waterfall. And now we're waiting for the bot to start generating the image. And done. And these are the 4 images that came out. How MidJourney names these numbers, these images are, this is number 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4. And why they are relevant is that now you can attempt a lot of customizations on top of these images, and these customization options are here, and each of these numbers that are here refer to image 1, 2, 3, or 4. So starting with the U1, U2, U3, and U4, which basically means upscale. So you can try and upscale these images. Let's see what that means. So let's say we want to upscale the first image. And we're done. So you would see that the difference between this one and this one, there are some differences, right? This one is far more detailed than the first one. So how this works is when these images were generated, it was generated from the text that you provided, waterfall, right? And when you upscaled the first one, it was generated from this image. It doesn't mean that it's just going to make a bigger version of this particular image. What this means is that this time MidJourney, instead of taking the text as input, is going to assume that this image is the input and create a more detailed version of that. From here, what we can also see is that you have some new options now. Make variations, light upscale redo, and beta upscale redo, right? So what all of them do, and we'll try them one by one, make variations is now that you want to see more variations of this particular image. So we started with these 4 kinds of waterfall, and instead of choosing these other 3, you chose this one. And this is there, but now you want to see that can we make more variations of this one? And that is what this particular button would do. Let's try it out. And we're done. And as you can see that these do look like they are variations of this particular image. And from here, you can again select between the first, second, third, or fourth one and see which one you want to move ahead with. But let's go back here for a second and explore these 2 other options as well. The first one is light upscale redo. Let's see what that does. And we're done with the lighter version. What this essentially means that if you're not happy with the upscaled version, then MidJourney will redo this with less detailed changes from the previous image. So it'll try and make it more like the image with which you started the upscale in the first place. So this particular output will look more similar to this first version, a little more toned down version of this, if you will, right? And then there is the last option, which is beta upscale redo, which means that since you can see that we're using the version 4 of MidJourney, right now they're at version 5.2, and we'll get into the newer versions as well. There is a reason why we started with version 4. But MidJourney, the team, is working on improving the algorithm, improving the bot, making it better. So you can see that what the latest algorithm changes that they're working on, how would that make this image look if that new algorithm was trying to upscale the last image. Let's see what that would do. There we are. This is what the newer version of MidJourney's algorithm would have created if we were using that version. And we can see that this is far more detailed. It has a lot more intricacies, right? And from here again, we can use the same options, make variations, light upscale redo, detailed upscale redo, and so on, right? And there is also another button here called remaster. Basically, what that does is it enhances the quality of these images. It will make them more coherent and detailed, right? The other two options here you see, one is just to indicate that you like the output. This is taken as feedback by the bot on what is working, what is not working for you. And the last option is basically to open this in web so that you can download it from there. So it opens this on the web, and from here also you can save this image if you want to. Another simple way to save would be just to click here, right click and save image, right? That's another way. Another way to open this on the browser is just click here and open in browser. So these are some of the things that you can do. Now coming back to the first image that we had generated, and we want to know what this means, what these V1, V2, V3, V4 means, right? So starting with these options, these are essentially variations. So let's say there were these four images and we liked the third one, which is this one. Or let's say we liked the second one because it has more greenery. And now we want to see more variations of this version. We want to discard these three and see more variations of this one. So what you would do is click on V2 so that MidJourney knows that we're asking it to create more variations of the second image. There we are. All of these images are now the variations of the second image, and you can see that they look pretty similar, right? We chose the one which has more greenery, and now all of these four outputs have more greenery. They look very similar to the second image from our first prompt. And from here, we can again start the journey of upscaling one of them or creating more variations of each of them, right? Lastly, coming to this button, which is like a refresh button. And what it does is basically it asks the MidJourney AI algorithm to generate four images again with the same prompt that we had given it initially, but to redo it. So the cool thing about AI is that if you keep giving it the same prompt, waterfall, it'll never give you the same output. So when we again give waterfall as the text prompt, it is not going to give us the same four images, but it'll redo and restart and create four waterfalls. So let's try it out. There we are, and we have four new waterfalls now. And obviously, like you could see, that they look very, very different from what we had gotten the first time when we gave waterfall as the prompt. And if you clicked on redo again, it would give you four new ones, which would look nothing like the 8 images that you've already seen. And if you like any of these, you can again start by upscaling them or creating variations. It's the same process over and over again. But we're just getting started. This is the first prompt that you've used. Congratulations on making your entry into AI art and creating the first one that you've ever done. From here, we'll now move on to more intricate details into how we can perfect the images that we want to create and get exactly what we're looking for. Let us start now talking about some of the settings options that are available to you in MidJourney. So to look at your options, you just click on / and type settings. Press enter. This pulls up the settings menu. The first thing that you see is MidJourney has evolved a lot, right? From version 1 to all the way till 5.2 right now, which is their most advanced algorithm. For the moment, we're working with MidJourney version 4. The reason I started with 4 is so that I could show you what changed from 4 to 5 to 5.1 to 5.2. And also a lot of times, whenever a new version of MidJourney comes out, what we've seen in the past is that it doesn't necessarily mean that all the features from version 4 is in 5. So sometimes if there are certain things that you want to use might not be available in the latest version, but might just be available in one version before, because a lot of these versions tend to be work in progress, which is why I started with version 4. There are these other two versions as well called Niji version 4 and Niji version 5. Niji is essentially MidJourney's version of creating more anime, more artistic versions of your prompts. So these generally tend to look more illustrative in nature, and we'll use it and see what comes out. So as you can see, the way to select these versions could be open up the settings menu and just tap here, right? And the version is changing from 4 to 5. But another way, which is more quicker, is to add these versions while you're entering the prompt. So as you can see here, it says that the current suffix, this is what you use as a prompt if you wanted to use MidJourney version 5. So let's try and do something for now. Let's try to use our waterfall prompt that we had and see what comes out in different versions, and that'll give us a sense of what the evolution has been. Let's try that out. So imagine waterfall, and the way to change version in your prompt is 2 dashes version 3. There we are. Look at how different this looks. I mean, at this point, you'd probably not even want to use MidJourney. Now let's try version 4 again. And this is waterfalls by version 4. And it looks dramatically different, right? So the version 4 was the default model for a long time. From November last year to until May this year was their default version. And it changed a lot. They redid the entire algorithm from what they learned, and the output was just amazing. This is where MidJourney started becoming interesting to people professionally. Let's look at version 5. And obviously, while you're waiting for this, you know that we can do concurrent jobs, right? So I could just add waterfall version 5.1, and this will also get queued and it'll start running. I could also do this will also get queued and it'll start running. So this, you can use this to save time because I already know I want to run these commands. So once a job gets completed, MidJourney pushes it down as a new message. So that is why these are coming as a new message. But let's look at what version 5 can do. And this is what came out. So what MidJourney claims is that with version 5, their model is trying to produce more photographic generations. So version 5 will look the most photographic. Let's look at 5.1. And like you can see, 5.1 doesn't look more photographic, but it does have more stronger aesthetics than version 5, clearly, right? So again, like I said, that using 5.1 doesn't really mean that it's going to be better necessarily from 5. It is going to be new. So if you were someone who was looking for a more photographic output, you know that you cannot use the latest version, or at least 5.1. You would need to be using version 5 because that is where you will get more photographic outputs. But if you were someone who was looking for stronger aesthetics, then 5.1 might make more sense to you, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean a natural progression. Eventually, they might add 5.1 to be more realistic. They might add more prompts to make it more photorealistic, but that's how it is. And it's important to know what is there in each version. Let's look at 5.2. Must have gotten generated by now. This is what 5.2 looks like. With 5.2, what MidJourney claims is this is their newest and the most advanced version of the algorithm. It is more detailed, it has better colors, contrast, compositions, and it also has better understanding of your prompts. So I guess, yeah, I could agree that this is the best version of waterfall that we're seeing so far. And yeah, I mean, you can see what all of these versions do. What you can also do is go to the MidJourney website, go back home, see all the things that you've generated so far. And you can see all your generations here at one go. So this one is much more easier to compare, right? So this is what we did with version 3. This is what we did with version 4. This is 5, which is supposed to be more photographic. 5.1, more artistic. 5.2, better colors, better everything overall, actually, right? Let's go back. And one of the versions that we did not explore was the Niji version, right? So let's explore that as well. Let's see what comes up. The way to use Niji is 2 dashes Niji space 5. You could also change it through the settings tab, but I just find this to be easier. There we are. Like mentioned, the Niji mode claims to give you a more anime-like aesthetics, and yeah, I guess it lives up to that. From here on, you can again go upscale, create variations, and do all of that we already know. Let's go back into settings. So we've covered all of these versions, right? And now you're equipped with what you want to use. We could use 5.2, let's say, for now. So whatever you select here becomes your default version. So in case I made a prompt, I will not have to add the version number here because by default 5.2 will be picked. But if I wanted to supersede the default version, then I can add this. That's how the default version works, and you can change it with the commands if you want to change it just for that one prompt that you're trying to make. What you will also realize here is that with the selection of 5.2, we saw something called raw mode come up, and it was there in 5.1 as well, but you would not see it once I select version 5 or version 4. So what is this raw mode? Like I said, with version 5, MidJourney tried to produce the most photographic generations, right? And with 5.1 and 5.2, what started happening is that they started adding more detail, sharper result, better colors, contrast, better compositions, and things like that. So now you might be someone who would be using 5.2, but you wanted a more raw version of that image, the one that was not edited with the MidJourney's default aesthetics, right, for 5.2. So what you would do essentially is your prompt would become waterfall version 5.2 style raw. So it would look something like this. And that's how it would work. Now let's come to this line of settings: stylize, low, medium, high, and very high. What does that mean? So largely think of it in two ways. The first one is more artisticness. So low would mean very low artistic abilities of the AI, and very high would mean that MidJourney would go ballistic with their artistic capabilities on whatever your prompt is. The other way to think about this is also that if you keep your stylize quotient to low, this would mean that MidJourney would try to stick as close to your prompt as possible, and stylize high would again mean it'll try to be more artistic. It'll go a little outside or try to add more to the prompts that you've given. Let's try each of them out and see what comes out. Again, there are two ways of trying this. Either we go into settings and change this each time we want to change the stylize value to low, medium, high, or we could do it in our prompt itself. And of course, let's learn how to do it in the prompt itself. So let's imagine a fruit basket. For stylize, you can either, after the two dashes, write stylize, or you can just leave it at S, and that works as well. The value for stylize low is 50. For the default one, that is stylize medium, is 100. For the high one is 250. And for very high, it is 750. Right? So these are the values that MidJourney suggests if you want to use stylize in your prompt directly. Let's start with low. And I'm going to go ahead and add the other prompts as well. And the last one, 750. You reach the maximum allowed number of concurrent jobs, but this job will start once the other one finalizes. So yeah, that's okay. We've queued it. So I'm waiting for all the other images to generate so that we can compare them and see how it looks different. There we are. All the images have been generated, and let's see. Stylize low, medium, looks slightly more artistic. High, very clearly more artistic. There are more number of fruits here as well. And then very high. So you sort of get the sense of the direction of how this works. We'll keep this as medium for now, and let's proceed into the other options that we have under settings. Let's go back into settings. Firstly, you're in public mode, which means that all your creations, whatever you create, is available for others to see. It might not be here in your Discord channel, but it most definitely is in the Explore tab. Let's say with this person, if I visited their profile, there are images that they've generated that I can always see, right? So you're creating in the public domain. Always be aware of that. The second is the fast mode. So you're currently using the fast mode, right? I am currently using the fast mode because I paid for a subscription and I got 15 hours of server time in the fast mode. So that is what this is. If you click on it, the fast mode ends now and it'll take a little longer, but I want to use fast mode for now. So let me choose it again. For now, we will not be able to remove the public mode. So if I click on it, I'm sure we'll get an error. Yeah, your current membership plan doesn't include private mode. So for private mode, we'd have to go for the $60 a month plan. Let me just get these out of the way. Let's look at remix mode. And this is actually quite interesting. So let's enable remix mode and I'll just show you what it means in a minute. So let me add a prompt. There we are. So we've made a stack of pumpkins, right? Now, what remix will do is when you select variations, so let's assume that I like this one and I want to create variations of this, you will now get this remix prompt, right? Which means that remix can now take the general composition of the starting image, which was the one that we selected, but you can create something completely different with just using that composition. So for example, let's say I went for something very wacky here and I said pile of cartoon owls. There we are. And now owls have gotten added, right? And this looks really, really good. We can now upscale, create more versions and go ahead with that, right? So if I was creating a version, again, a version 1, I would again get a remix prompt. And now again, if I added whatever prompt I added here, it would take the general composition of this first image and create something new out of that. So that is what remix does. And it's quite interesting. It is something to definitely play around with. Let's go back into settings and turn off remix mode for now. Now let's talk about the high variation mode and the low variation mode. So we have high variation mode currently selected, and let me show you where that becomes useful. In this pile of cartoon owls, let's say I really liked the first image, right? And I want to upscale that one. So let me quickly do that. Awesome. Now that this is done, you see that you have two options here, very strong or very subtle. These vary options when used is now going to use a high variation mode or a low variation mode. So if you have high variation as default, no matter which one you select, the subtleness would be higher or the strongness of the variation is going to be higher. If I was in low variation mode, then the strongness of this variation would be lower and the subtleness would be lower, if that makes sense to you, right? Let's try to see what comes out if we do both. So very strong first. Well, this is what was created. There is a lot more detail here. Let's do a subtle variation and see what happens. There we are. And if you see, look at these owls, right? And all of these owls look fairly similar. There hasn't been any major change in these owls. But if you look at the high variation ones, a lot more details have been added to each of these owls, right? So that's what very strong and subtle means. And if I was in low variation mode, I would still be getting these two options. But this time, the stronger ones would also create in low variation mode and the subtle ones would be even lower. So you can just play around with things like this to see what works for you. I just keep it at high variation mode and I decide on very strong or very subtle from whatever image is it that I'm working on. Another interesting thing, I'm not sure if you noticed this, but let me quickly find an image that we generated from version 4 back when we were doing forests. Here. And when we upscaled a photo here, the options that we were getting were very different, right? Light upscale, detailed upscale, remaster, make variations. And now with version 5.2, when you upscale, the options that you're getting is very different. So this is where, again, reiterating that with different versions, it doesn't mean that all features is going to be available in a newer version. You obviously have some new features here, but it does mean that if you wanted to use some of those features of version 4, you need to go back to that version and then upscale images there. But for most part, this is not something that you will need to worry about because at the moment, version 5 and 5.2 are pretty great. Few more things that I'd like to highlight before we conclude this part on settings. Some of these other options that you can always use here, one is info, right? So when you click on info, you get an update on what is happening with your account. So your subscription plan, visibility that you're working on, time remaining, lifetime usage, the queued jobs that you have, what are the running jobs you have. You can get a sense of all of those kind of things. Sometimes when you are in the MidJourney web app and since you worked with a lot of images, it might get difficult to remember where you generated this image. It could be in the MidJourney server in the newbies channel. It could be in your own server. So when we come here, that I wanted to go back to this image, right? The easiest way to do this is go here, copy, copy the job ID, right? And show and enter the job ID, press enter. And this post immediately comes back again and I can start working from here, right? So a lot of times it might get very difficult to find the right image that you wanted in this list. It's even more difficult if you're working inside the MidJourney server where there is just so much noise, right? So go back to your account, log into the MidJourney web app, find the image here and just simply copy the job ID. We'll go into the other commands that you see here as well as and when the need for these come up. But for now, let's look at how to add more detail into our prompts, right? So far, we've pretty much been doing one-word prompts with our waterfall. So let's see if we wanted to add more detail, how we would go about it. So we've been doing just waterfall so far, right? Now, there are multiple ways to be more descriptive. Of course, you can write long descriptive sentences. I like to use commas. So you can add more detail into what you want with just commas, right? So let's say comma, bird eye view, dawn as time of the day, and let's see what comes up. There we go. So as you can see, the three things that we added between commas, waterfall, bird eye view, and dawn, all of three perfectly captured in all of these images. And you can continue to use commas and add more detail, right? So let's explore some of the different ways that you can detail exactly what you want. The first one is things like camera positioning or composition of what you exactly want, right? So let's set up a baseline first. So we've got a diamond ring, right? Now I could add camera positioning on top of this. So how I would do that is top view, right? This could be one way. Side view could be another. Extreme close up could be another. Let's see what comes up. There we are. So this one is our top view. This one is our side view, and this is the extreme close up. And see, just by adding comma and the perspective, the camera positioning of what I wanted, I was able to change how the output would be there. Let's look at some more examples. Let's say if you were working with something bigger than just one object, right? Something like a beach. In this case, I could say something like bird eye view. Also say something like pedestrian view. So this is the bird eye view very clearly. Then we did the pedestrian view. Just to be funny, I tried something called sailor's view. I guess it didn't come off as I expected it to be. I thought it'll come as a sailor who's out in the sea and is able to look at the beach, but something really different came up. But that's okay. So the point to take away is that you can try and add the view from which you're looking at the object that you want a picture of. Another way to look at composition could also be something like full body view, right? If we were working with people. Could also work with camera terms like ultra wide shot. So we've looked at Emperor Throne full body view. We've looked at Emperor Throne ultra wide shot. Also looked at portrait mode. So these are also some of the ways in which you can compose your image better. Now let's look at lighting. So one of the ways to achieve the desired lighting is by maybe time of day, right? So let's say imagine There we are. So we have waterfall during dusk, during dawn, at night. So you can use the time of the day to make the lighting as you'd want it. You could also use light sources. So for example, so I tried to do a diner lit with candles. Something like this came up. Not really what I was going for. This is more of yellow lights, maybe. You could also use a lot of your professional lighting equipment, right? So let's say rim lighting. There we go. So this is a fruit basket under rim lighting, 3-point lighting, and under a spotlight. So you can try and use a lot of these combinations and see what kind of lighting you want. One last way to achieve lighting is by mood. So again, let's say, whoops, I had done another one for soft lighting and forgot about it. There we are. So beach gloomy and beach warm. So these are some ways to experiment with lighting. I'm sure with just these combinations, you'd be able to come up with a lot more. Let's move on to another way to enhance what you're getting, and that is colors. So you might be wanting to enhance certain colors in the setting that you want, right? So let's say, there we go. So this is beach sunny day with yellows and reds. MidJourney is thrown out an art which has more yellow and red. This is the same one with blues and purples. Same one with greens, right? Greens and blues. So you can just use these colors in your prompts to highlight certain things about the art that you're looking for. Let us now look at editing an existing image, right? So let's say we'll use one of these images. Let's just scale this one, right? So I'll upscale the second one. Now that this image is there, let's say I want to try and edit this image. So just copy link. And in your prompt, you can paste this link followed by comma and now add whatever keywords you want to add on top of it. So let's say I want to edit this and say nighttime. One thing to note is that MidJourney is not going to be editing this exact image. It's going to be taking that one as an inspiration. Of course, we can add more weightage to this and we'll cover that in a little bit more later. But for now, what you need to know is that when you use an image link and add some keywords, it'll take the image as inspiration and your keywords in the prompt as inspiration to generate something together. The cool thing is that you can do this with two images, right? And you can try and blend them. Let's go into unsplash.com. So this is a website that I like to use, which has a lot of high resolution images and it's pretty much copyright free. So from here, let's take inspiration. Let's take two images and try to blend it together. Let's see what comes out. Let's take this castle. Let's take this waterfall. So there are two ways to do this. You can use these links or you could even download the files. I've done both so that I'll show you how both of them works. So first let's do with the link. So I'm going to copy this link, come back here and say imagine, add the first image, copy the second link and add the second image. Let's not add anything else, see what comes up. And there we are. So this is the image generated and you can see barring some aspect ratio issues, there is a castle, there is a waterfall, and we'll come to deal with the aspect ratios issues as well. Now, like I said, there are more ways of doing this, right? So the other way is to use this keyword blend. And now you can just upload images here. So you can add the castle and you can add up to 4 more images, right? You just continue with these 2 again. And there we are, very similar generated images. I tried another example here where I took the photo of this lady from Unsplash and I tried to add some more prompts here. Full body view, red hair, walking towards camera, happy, background of Golden City, dreamy. I think it looks pretty good, doesn't it? Now let's take care of the aspect ratio problem that we've been dealing with for a while, right? So now to deal with the aspect ratio, what you need to do is add 2 dashes. We'll add it as a parameter and the parameter is called AR, that's aspect ratio. And now you can add your width to height. So let's say 9:16. There we are in portrait mode. So just use the double dash AR parameter and add the aspect ratio you want in width is to height ratio, right? And now that we're talking about some of these parameters, another parameter that I wanted to cover is called chaos. So chaos is basically a way of influencing how varied your initial grids are, right? So think of it this way, that lower the chaos value, the result is going to be more reliable, more repeatable. And the higher the chaos value, you'd probably start getting some bizarre outputs. So let's try something like this. And the way to add chaos is as a parameter, 2 dashes and chaos followed by a value between 0 to 10, 0 to 100. 0 means low chaos, 100 means extreme chaos, right? So let's say we start with 0. So like we said that when the chaos value is very low, it will generate this first grid where images are more or less similar to each other. As we keep increasing the chaos value, so this is again low chaos. As we keep increasing, your initial grid will start to become more varied. A lower chaos value will give you more repeatable results, and a higher chaos value will probably give you something very, very random. By default, if you don't add anything, the chaos value is always set to 0, right? So that's how it is. Let us now move to the next parameter we're going to discuss, and that is called the no command. So sometimes you want to tell MidJourney not to have certain elements in an image that is getting generated, right? So let's say imagine, and we say, so the way to do this is double dash no followed by what you don't want in the image. Let's see what comes up. So yeah, these are landscapes where there are no trees, right? So it worked really well. Now, for example, let's say you don't want the sun either. So you can say no sun, no water, no humans. So you can use these no commands to remove things from your prompts and ensure that those things are not added in the final art that is created. Up next, let's look at image weights. So we've worked with some keywords where we use an image and then add some more prompts on top of it, right? So I think this was one. This was another one. So in all of these kind of images, you can now start adding image weight, which tells MidJourney how much weight do you want to give to the image that you're using, right? So in this case, this image that we're using. So let's try something. Let's look at a fruit basket. Let's upscale one of the fruit baskets, whichever, doesn't matter. Let's say this one. We have this upscaled image. Now let me copy link. After the image, I'm saying birthday cake. And let me add an image weight. So the way to add image weight is IW dash dash IW, and the range is 0 to 2. So 0 is the lowest, so almost no weight to the image, and 2 is max, right? Let's try some options. I'm going to try 0.5. Okay, so for some reason, the 1.5 image weight got stuck, but that's okay. We have three images. Let's work with that. So as you can see, when the image weight was zero point 0.5, there is more cake, less from fruits, right? On the other extreme, when the image weight is 2, it's extremely high weight to the image, so the fruit basket is all we see. And this is somewhere in between when it's a mix of cake and fruit basket. So yeah, you can use image weight values between 0 to 2 and define how much of the image should influence the output. 1.5 finally got completed. So you can see it's somewhere more towards the image than the birthday cake prompt, right? With MidJourney 5, we also have a zoom in and zoom out. Let's look at that. So after you upscale any image, you will see these options, right? Zoom out 2x, 1.5x, custom zoom. Let's try these out. So let's try 2x and 1.5x. So this is the 2x zoom out that MidJourney was able to create, and this is the 1x zoom out. This one looks nice. There's something off about this one, but that's okay. Up next, we're going to look at seeds. So, like we know that whenever we generate images in MidJourney, every time you add the same prompt, a different version of that image would come out, right? So let's say let's just add this twice. So we get different looking outputs each time, right? Let's try waterfall one more time. Now, as you can see, every time we used the same prompt waterfall, something different came out, right? So what if in the future you wanted to recreate this grid, but obviously you know that if you use the same prompt, it is not going to work. It is not going to look like this, right? So MidJourney provides you with something called seed. Seed is basically the starting point that the algorithm used to create these four grids. And you can use that starting point again in the future to try and recreate a similar kind of waterfall. So the way to get the seed for all of these grids that you're working on, there are multiple ways. So one is that you can go into right click, go into apps and click on DM results. Another way is that you can react to this with the envelope and you'll get a message. But somehow for me, this is not working at the moment. I clicked on this, not working. So another way that you can do is go into the web app. Here we are. This is the image. Just go here, copy the seed. So I got a confirmation the seed has been copied. I can now go here, imagine waterfall. You can use seed or you can use Sameseed. Either way, it's fine. And then just paste that value, right? So this is the value. Okay, let me just get this image out of the way. And yeah, we can now compare between these two grids and they look more or less similar, which is the magic of seed. So I tried another prompt where using the same seed and the same waterfall keyword, I just used one more keyword, nighttime. And as you know, if I had just used waterfall nighttime, obviously the waterfall would look nothing like the one that we had generated before. But this time, because I used this seed, the waterfall actually looks pretty similar to the ones that we had created before. And the only difference is the new keyword that we added, which is great, right? So sometimes when you forget to add some keywords, but you like the output and you just want to reuse the grid that was created with maybe 1 to 2 more keywords in your prompt, seeds is the perfect way to do that. Did you know that all of these images, since they're public and we do know that users all around the world can see them in the MidJourney community. But what if I wanted to delete this from the MidJourney server? I have already downloaded it and it's there for my personal use. If I just react with this red cross, this image gets deleted and it's gone. Let's delete this. It's gone. So you can use these cross emojis to do that. Moving on now, there are a couple of settings that I wanted to tell you about, right? So the first one is describe. This is extremely powerful. When you type describe, it is asking you to upload an image. So let's go back into MidJourney. Let's go into the Explore tab. I'm going to save it. And then let's upload it here. So from the image that we entered, MidJourney bot has given us 4 options of prompts that these are the ones that actually might work and recreate the same image. So let's try the first one, see what comes out. There we are. This is what came out and it looks quite good, right? It is not accurate, obviously, but you can try these other 2, 3, 4 options and I'm sure something good will pop up, or at least you'll get a direction of the prompts to use. The power of this is not obviously in using images from the MidJourney community and then trying to upload it and describe it, because you already have the prompts for this one here. But the power here is going to be to take images of other platforms, upload it into MidJourney and see what kind of prompts will be needed to recreate it. And I'm sure with time, this will just get more and more accurate. Now let's move on to another command, and this is called prefer option set. What this basically does is that it will save certain values for you. So sometimes when you have very long prompts and you don't want to keep writing all of them again and again, right? Let me give you an example. So I copied this prompt directly from the community, and obviously this is not a very great prompt, but still, let me just show you what comes up. So this is what came out, right? And let's say that I will keep needing a lot of different food photos, but I want to use the same prompt. So I would just want to replace the plate of fries with other things. What you can do is copy everything else. And then I say prefer option set. We'll have to give this option a name. Let's call it food 1. And then click here. You get this prompt for value and then paste everything that we copied here, right? In fact, let's also add a aspect ratio here. Press enter and your custom option is now set, right? So the next time you want to do food photography and you want to use these same things, we'll say food 1. So you use these double dashes and just use food 1. And look what happened. That variable was replaced with everything else that you had used and saved. And that's it. You got pretty similar looking images. Even if they're not similar, it did use the same prompt other than just this first part. So you can use this if you're trying to generate similar kind of images and you use the same prompts or the same settings all the time, then this can become really helpful. You can always go into prefer option and see the list. So I have only one so far. If you want, you can clear this out as well. So prefer option set, you choose this, and this time for value, you just leave it blank. Okay, so just leave it like this. So custom option food 1 is now removed. So you can also remove it that way. Similarly, there is also something called prefer suffix. And let's say that I use aspect ratio 9:16. So this suffix is now saved. Now, when you use prefer suffix, no matter what prompt you use, this suffix will automatically get added all the time. So yeah, if you're going to be using the same suffix every time when you're generating images with MidJourney, it's just a good idea to save it and you don't have to keep typing it again and again. And to clear it, the suffix is now removed, and that's all. So I think over the last 1 hour, I have tried to give you a lot of different things that can be done with MidJourney, working with images, different types of prompts. a lot of parameters that you can use. You can obviously always go into the MidJourney website or the community and ask for help if there is anything that I've missed. But do subscribe to the channel because I will be creating a playlist, and I'll now start picking up projects and will show you exactly how to use all of these tools together in combination to create different kinds of output. If there is something I miss, a different kind of output that you're looking for, let me know in the comments below so that I can create a video around it and hopefully help you guys out.